Hello students and welcome to our presentation for today with describing settings and events in a story. Our learning target for today is using details to describe the settings and events in a story that help you better understand the story that you are reading. When you read a literary text, you learn about important information that happens to the characters, the problems they face, and solutions they come to. These are the story events. You also find out about the settings or where and when the events occur. To get the most from a story, look for details about the story events, including the characters, actions, and reactions, as well as their thoughts and feelings. Also look for details describing how a setting looks and when and where the story takes place. Paying attention to these details helps you make sense of what happens in the story. So digging in, we're going to start off by what is a setting. When you're young, you are taught setting is where and when the story takes place. As we get older and dig deeper into literature, we see we have to analyze it a little bit more than just that. Today we'll be looking at setting as time, geographic location, weather conditions, socioeconomic culture conditions, and mood atmosphere. Time and geographic location. Time, the span in which the story takes place. Could be present day or a specific historical time period, several months over the courses of a year, etc. I listed examples below each definition. Geographic location is where the story takes place. Weather conditions. So this form of setting is only worth discussing when it has a major effect on the story. Weather conditions as part of the setting can have a direct effect on the character's action, moving the plot forward, etc. If you look at the picture to the right, I use that picture from Pooh and Piglet. It's a picture of a natural disaster happening in their environment. Actually, another example would be Hurricane Katrina. We experienced earthquakes, blizzards, the list goes on and on. Social, economic, cultural conditions. So just like with weather, this area of setting is only necessary to discuss when it plays a part in the story. Social economics is how rich or poor, wealth or poverty has an effect on the story. Cultural conditions involve the many different styles of dress, languages, religions, beliefs, customs, food, etc. that can be unique to a group of people. Good example of this is the Great Depression, homelessness in an area, and wealthy suburbs. Social, economic, cultural conditions again. If you look to the picture to the left, this is Aladdin. He lives in a poor setting. And this shows how it affects his choices at the beginning of the movie. To the right, Mulan's culture makes it honorable to fight for the emperor when he calls you to serve. But how do these same cultural traditions prevent Mulan from being able to fight in her father's place and make it illegal for her to fight as a woman? Mood and atmosphere. Mood and atmosphere is the way that the setting of the story makes you feel. And this can be done through the author's choice of words to describe the setting. Is it spooky? Is it gloomy? Is it exciting? Is it comfortable? Role of setting. Setting plays an important role in literature. It allows you to visualize the story. Writers use it to create atmosphere. Used to tell readers about characters. Settings can be in conflict with characters, and it can be so important to the story that it drives all the actions within the story. Role of setting. That evening, TJ smelled the air, his nostrils dilating with the odor of the earth under his feet. It's spring, he said, and there was gladness rising in his voice that filled us all with the same feeling. It's mighty late for it, but it's spring. We were all sniffing at the air too, trying to smell the way that TJ did, and I can still remember the sweet odor of the earth under our feet. It was the first time in my life that spring and spring's earth had meant anything to me. Anthony's by Borden Deal. What all can you tell from this description of the setting? Speaking of conflict, conflict is the part of the story that provides the problem. There would be no story without conflict. It is arguable whether there are 4 or 5 kinds of conflict, so to be safe, we will explore all 5 types. The words character, human, etc. are both used when describing conflict. There can be more than one conflict going in a story at the same time. Each type of conflict can be characterized as either external or internal. Character versus character. This is when the problem in the story is between 2 specific characters in the story. For example, in the book Wonder, there are specific problems between the main character Augie and Julian, who is viewed as the bully in the story. This is an external conflict, and I do encourage everyone to read the story and also look at the movie because it's a great story. Character versus nature. This is where the weather conditions of settings become kind of like a character in the story. The main character is battling a force of nature in order to survive or move forward in the story. For example, in Hatchet, the main character is in a plane crash and must rely on nature to survive and hope to be rescued. This is also an external conflict. Character versus self. In this type of conflict, a main character is battling something within themselves. This may be self-esteem issues, a choice they must make, or even getting over a traumatic experience and healing. This is an internal conflict because of it being within the character. For example, in the book If I Stay, the character who is in a coma must decide whether if not to give up and go to heaven or fight to wake up from her coma. Character versus society. This type of conflict deals mostly with a character who is having to fight against a larger group of establishment. Many dystopian or futuristic society novels fall into this category. For example, in the Hunger Games, Katniss is doing things to be spiteful against the Capitol because she doesn't agree with the laws they have created for the society of Panem. Some would argue that this is both external and internal because the character is fighting against society, but also has to have the courage within themselves to do so. Character versus fate. This is an internal conflict where a character knows that they are destined to a certain action or outcome. Sometimes this is willingly, and other times they don't want to do so. So think about Percy Jackson or Harry Potter, because I know you guys read those stories. So our goal for today is to sit back and think, what's going to happen? Thank you so much for viewing my presentation for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You have a great day. Thank you.